Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Trap Chat Live. If you were with us last week, you know that I said I was going to spend the month of September talking about wellness, health, mind, body, spirit, connecting all of those things to your career. And I am very excited today to start with the mind. I have Alicia Ramsdell. She is the CEO of Mindful Career Path based out of Boston, Massachusetts. And you will hear her accent when she starts talking. And hopefully I will not parrot her accent because I have a tendency to do that. When I hear people, I like give it back to them. So forgive me. she In her business, she guides clients to develop their career stories in a mindfully enthusiastic approach. I got that right, correct?
You
Okay.
did.
All right. She's also a certified career provider and a global career development facilitator. Alicia, thank you so much for coming on Trap Chat Live today to talk about mindfulness, managing career stress, all of those good things. So, if you wouldn't mind, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure thing. Kirsten, thank you very much for inviting me on the show. You're the hostess with the mostest, and we've already had a lot of fun, and the show just started. So, again, my name is Alicia Ramsdell. I'm the CEO and founder of Mindful Career Path. And the reason I started this business was truly based on my own experience in my own career. And I wanted to make career fulfillment a career reality because I've lived it and I promise it is attainable.
Nice. So let's start there then. You talked about your career journey and how you had to get to this point. So what led up to you starting Mindful Career Path? And first, I guess, tell us when you did found the company.
Sure, I founded the company January 2020, and we all know what
Ooh.
happened 3 months later.
Yes.
But before that, right, I started young with
Okay.
a subject that I was strong in, right? And I listened to those around me as a young person. And if I respected somebody, I really took what they said to heart. I was strong in math and I was going to business school for my undergraduate degree. And someone I respected said, hey, you should check out accounting, right? Good money, job security. And, I was going to business school, so it made sense to me.
Okay.
So fast forward, I started in an accounting career. I didn't necessarily love it, but there was job security and there was, the financial, I could provide financially for myself and then ideally for my future family going forward. But again, somebody I respected, a partner at the firm I was at, mentioned, hey, we pay for graduate classes. Have you
Mm.
considered getting a graduate degree in taxation? And at that point, I said, who am I to pass up a free education? How ungrateful would that look? So I doubled down, right? I got that graduate degree in taxation.
Okay.
And at this point, right, after receiving my degree, I almost had this, I owed the community. And when I say community, I mean my family, myself, my surroundings, my environment, and so forth, to build a career in accounting. Let's just see how it goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Years go by, and every year that passed by, I felt more invested in this identity of being an accountant, even though I didn't have that passion for it or that excitement to wake up every day and do it. And whether or not your audience knows this, there's a cognitive science term out there that refers to that commitment of an identity without having explored all options as identity foreclosure, right?
Oh.
I started to become reluctant to abandon this career identity because I was so heavily invested at this point, right? And it wasn't until I had my own kids and I started talking about, hey, you can be whatever it is you want to be when you grow up. And I started to realize I'm not living that career truth, right? So how unfair is that of me to tell my kids they can do this, but then not truly live it? So I went through a lot of self-reflection exercises, which I'm sure we can go through later for your audience, to recognize what are my career truths? What am I doing? What am I accomplishing? And where am I thriving? So I did things like career journaling, the 4-quadrant exercise. And one of the ones that I think are most important when I started to piece together that career development was a place that I wanted to be, was talking to experts in various spaces, right? So whether that was in higher education as a career advisor or somebody that ran their own private practice. I had to take certification courses. So my educator in that class, he ran his own private class. So I talked a lot, or sorry, private practice. So I talked a lot with him about the opportunities that were in front of him when he first started and continued to see. So again, January 2020 hit, I started Mindful Career Path. Excited, and I still am almost 3 years later.
Yes, yes, and we appreciate it. So, you obviously in the title mindful and mindfulness. For the folks who aren't familiar, or maybe they think it's some kind of like spooky, like culty, religious type of thing, can you just define, or how do you define mindfulness?
So, basic form, right? Basic form mindfulness is being present in what you're doing. And in my own career experiences, I realized that I wasn't being present in what I was doing. I was prioritizing work requests over my own health, and I would allow the stress of others, right? If somebody else was having a bad day and they would send me, this negative energy via email or talk to me in this certain tone, I felt like I allowed their stress to dictate my stress levels and how I chose to respond. And the reason with Mindful Career Path, I became a student of the John Kabat-Zinn Global Mindfulness Program, and it started through, I think it was through the UMass Medical or UMass Health, I think it was UMass Medical School. And what it was a combination of learning meditation and other mindfulness techniques to reduce stress. And I really took this to heart, and I turned this into, or what I wanted to turn it into when I was starting my career coaching business, was instead of mindfulness-based reduction techniques, I wanted to turn it into mindfulness-based career stress leveraging tools, right?
Okay.
So we can get more into that, but that's where I am with mindfulness, or at least when I started.
All right, great. So I have a comment up here from Charlie Bean, who
Hi, Charlie.
says, I am grateful you found your career truth, Alicia. I, along with several others in my life, have benefited from your MCP guidance. And if you don't know my MCP, Mindful Career Path, we'll drop the address in the chat at the end, but it's also scrolling across if you want to go visit the website to get a little bit of understanding while you're listening or watching. All righty.
Thanks for the shout out, Charlie.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for watching, Charlie. So here's where we are. So January 2020, I want to say that you were divinely appointed because who knew?
I certainly didn't.
None of us did. I think we all started like 2020 vision. We had all these little slogans and we were so excited. Okay. So I want to stick with that because do you feel like the career, because we talked a lot, especially during the beginning of the pandemic and then even into 21, what I like to call the period of pandemic fatigue. We talked a lot, a lot of people were a lot more open about how unhappy they were, how stressed out they were, how burnt out they were, working in their jobs. And I think, do you feel like the pandemic was what added to that, like what tipped people over the scales, or do you think the pandemic just gave people an opportunity to voice their frustrations, their stresses, and their unhappiness?
I certainly think it was always there, right? It was just this bubble ready to burst, and when it burst, nobody knew at the time. But COVID pandemic was horrible on a lot of fronts. But the one, or maybe there's a couple more, but on the one positive that I can think of that came from COVID was people's vulnerability was allowed, right? To say that I am not living in a way that means something to me, that matters to me, which you can then show up better for your family and for, for the external world. I think COVID allowed people to be vulnerable, and in a sense mindfulness became a buzzword, or I feel like mental health became this buzzword.
Yeah.
So I think it gave everybody, in a good way, I think it gave everybody that free pass to say it's okay if you don't love what you're doing. And I also understand it's a privilege to be able to just, up and leave my job and go do something, pursue something that I love. And I'm not saying that everybody has that privilege. We have all had financial obligations or family obligations or scheduling restraints. But I believe that COVID, the opportunities presented because of the pandemic, were something that were happening beforehand, and it just gave people that microphone to be allowed to express it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think about that for myself, because like I got to a point in my career, but mine was not, mine was facilitated. I was kind of pushed into, starting my own business, or, doing consulting work as opposed to being a corporate recruiter or in corporate talent acquisition. I was laid off in 2016. And, the more I thought about it, and because of like what you said, I guess I was in a state of identity foreclosure. Like what I'm supposed to be was this recruiter. So I went through a phase where, I wasn't really appreciative of the skills and of the expertise that I really had, so when people would come and ask me to do things that I knew I could, like that I was already doing, I always kind of prefaced before I would agree, well, I'm not working right now, and I felt like I didn't have a voice. And what really turned the page for me was someone who was running a clear job fair, and he needed someone to come and speak, because the person he had scheduled had to go out of town, go out of the country for work. And he was like, can you just come and talk to the job seekers about this and this? And I was like, well, can we jump on a call first? So I told him, and shout out Ken Fuller, you just had a birthday last week, one of my homeboys. He's from your area. No, he's from Long Island, sorry.
Close enough.
Yeah, well, he also has a similar accent. That's why I connected the two. So I reached out. He reached out, and I said, well, I don't have a job. I was like, are you sure you want me talking to people who are looking for a job about getting a job when I'm a unemployed recruiter? And he was like, what? He was like, of course, like you could do that, like you can do anything, like are you kidding me, like you have something to offer. And that's really what started me to like branding what I was going to do, to like stay in my lane, to not try and be, something that already existed. Because there are a lot of career coaches out there, but there are not a lot of track recruiters. I'm the only one. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So, that gave me like the confidence to try and like cut out there and being that person that connects, what I did as a recruiter to what I was doing in my job search. And any of us that have been in a job search know how daunting that can be. And me being real and like giving people that insight, that personal insight, like that's what really shaped what Trap Recruiter became. And I think that had I not had those experiences, and perhaps it took me longer, like I wouldn't be where I am today. I'd probably, like I said, be working inside of a company right now, pretty miserable, every few days or every few weeks, calling my friends and telling them how much I hate, whatever person, and why I need to get out of here, and all of that. One thing that you do for your clients, and Charlie Bean has attested to this, is guiding them to their own career fulfillment. So what's the first thing that you, and without giving away too much of your secret sauce, like what's the first thing that you like to pour into your clients?
So actually, just this morning, I was listening to a podcast and I heard a really great quote. And I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something to the extent of get out of the window and look into the mirror. And it's really just saying stop looking for external validation and start looking internally to determine what is your next best step in your life. And I really liked how it was put so succinctly. And that's really where I start with my clients is that internal search before going out to that external world. And again, I'm aware that it's a privilege to be able to pick and choose your career opportunities. Again, financial obligations, family obligations, scheduling restraints. But with that being said, being present in whether or not you are thriving in what you're doing, right? Do you light up in any areas of your current role, right? Before we think about if you have a current role, before we think about quitting or moving on, just think, hey, are there any areas where I light up? Again, I was in accounting and tax. I couldn't just quit my role, but I started to figure out what about this role or what areas do I light up in this role? So let's give a simple example, right? Let's say you work at a local coffee shop and you're a barista and you're pouring coffee. If you just think of it from a broad perspective, oh, I just pour coffee all day. Let's hyper focus in. Do you light up when you talk to customers, right? Yeah. Customer service satisfaction. Do you light up when you train employees, training and development? Do you light up when you help the branding of the shop, right? So the marketing of the shop, right? So there's that marketing specialty. Do you light up when you are part of updating the technology with mobile apps and so forth? Are you there improving processes with technology?
Yes.
Those are different pieces of what you do that you might not have necessarily thought of at the very beginning because you say, oh, well, I just pour coffee. But there's so much more opportunity. And what happens is, even if there's not necessarily a move that you can make currently, maybe they don't have any opportunities to become manager or whatnot, there's always opportunity to raise your hand and say, you know what, I want to be more involved in the areas where I thrived, right? So if you need help with me updating the technology for the mobile app, call on me, right? I don't have to lead it, but I'd like to be a part of the conversations, right? And there's a lot of different self-reflection exercises I go through with my clients. A couple, just to name a few, are career journaling, right? Just weekly. Start writing up what you are accomplishing and then rank it. You know, do I love it, hate it, or somewhere in the middle? And then reflecting back and saying, okay, what were the areas I accomplished and loved doing, right? Because I want to do more of those. There's another one out there on my website at mindfulcareerpath.com/resources. It's called the 4-quadrant exercise. And again, something similar is figuring out what am I accomplishing? Where am I thriving? What don't I know a lot about, but want to learn more about? You know, those learning opportunities. And then the other side of it, you know, what am I accomplishing but don't really love? Or what am I doing because I have to, don't really know enough about it and don't really care to learn more about? So then we can figure out, all right, where can we delegate and where can we ask for more opportunities? And then the last one, and I think I mentioned this already, the best thing that you can do, whether you're a job seeker because you don't have a job or you currently are in a career that you don't feel fulfilled in, have conversations. It's not always about getting that next job. It's more about learning what is out there, what opportunities, not a specific role, but what are specific responsibilities and, you know, company cultures that are out there that you might not even realize had existed previously.
Yes, I love that. And when you ask that question, are there areas in your current role where you light up? I immediately thought of part of an exercise that I give to my career coaching clients. And it's the same question, but asked in a more recruiter way. And, you know, and I say, like, what would not have happened if you weren't there? And that's how I get them to write their achievements. You know, like they start thinking about how they save money, how they save time, like you said, how they improve the process, you know, like how they, you know, just changed one, you know, moved the stapler or moved the coffee maker from this place to this place, and, you know, how that improved production, like anything like that, you know, how they have folks come at, celebrate birthdays, like they're the person who gets the cake and has everyone sign the card, like anything like that, like
Yeah.
that's another exercise that I do as well. So I promise you, if you didn't already believe that like what she's saying is true and that it works, like it does, because she like it will get you to where you need to be. Just pausing for just a second, because I did want to highlight and have folks, go to your website and check out all of the resources that you have. I know you have videos, and then you have opportunities for folks to contact you about your services. But she mentioned the 4-quadrant exercise. And if you would like to learn more about that, or if you would like to do the 4-quadrant exercise for yourself as part of your career journaling, go ahead and go to www.mindfulcareerpath.com/resources. Okay. And then we have a LinkedIn user, not sure who this is. I love this. It's like asking people to give themselves gold stars. Yes, big up yourself. I'm going to give another personal story. As many of you know, because I say it all the time, I believe in mentoring up and down, and up, down, across, like every which way. And I was working with someone who has since, really become a dynamo in engineering in the defense and intelligence community. And this person had started as an intern at this big global company, and then was moving forward. And like, we all thought that she was, just amazing, and that she knew how amazing she was. But there came a time when someone asked her to be a part of a presentation. And, she came to me and told me this, something like how nervous she was, and all of this stuff, and, how she got to the next place. And I was like, well, just do it. And then she said she would look herself, like she would talk to herself in the mirror, and, would tell herself like how awesome she was. And then it turned out that like I started, I adopted that. Like, what did you do today? Like, you're going to be all right. Like, you're a super person. Like, you're awesome. You can do this. And like I said, like I learned that from someone else because I wasn't that. I have another friend, like I write down things. I'm a note taker in and of itself. Not only that, because I'm older and it helps me remember when I write it down. Because I've like written it, and I probably have like mouthed what I've written. So now I've said it again, and then I read it, and again, I probably, said it again in my mind because I'm old, and that's how I do retention. But yeah, I love that part. Now, backstage, we were talking about some steps that people take to get to they're making career fulfillment a career reality. And that's her tagline. So don't steal that, people. And we talked about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you give us some insight into what that is? Because we can all remember that, even me, without having to write it down.
Yeah. So, this kind of brings me back to the mindfulness-based career stress leveraging tools, right?
Okay.
Like we said before, with our careers, it's inevitable that we're going to experience stressful times, right? So we can't try to run away from them, right? Okay. We got to almost run into them with full force and leverage, in a sense, our way out, right? So I would ask my clients, what are areas that cause you stress in your careers? I would think to myself, what are areas that cause me stress in my careers? And a couple of the common themes are, I get really anxious before giving a presentation, or I prioritize others' priorities first, or I have constant meetings, right? And I can never sit down and just do my work. Or the negative emotions in an office space. If somebody or a couple of people are having negative emotions, emotions are contagious, right? And naturally, as humans, we go to the negative first. It's almost our defense mechanism from back in the way back days. I don't know how to explain it, but so I tried to explain to my clients that there are techniques that are simple, that are actionable, that you can do just as you're sitting in your office or in your home. So as an example, having a presentation and you have a lot of anxiety leading up to it. There is something that I train my clients to work with that I learned, again, through the mindfulness program I went through. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. And I'm sure some of you have heard of it. But really what that is to ground you in the present moment. Not concern yourself with what happened in the past, not worry about what potentially could happen in the future. And how you do this exercise is you're sitting in your chair or wherever you are standing there, look around the room and say out loud 5 things that you can see. And then say out loud 4 things, and actually do this. Say out loud 4 things that you can touch, and you actually touch them. 4 things outside of the 5 things you just mentioned that you could see. 3 things that you can smell. 3 things that you can hear. 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And it sounds silly, but I'm imagining anybody who just did it right now on the call, or anybody that does it in the future, will realize they could have only focused on the things they were looking at, smelling, touching, tasting, and so forth. And it grounds you in that present moment, which is what you want. Yeah. There are other techniques that I also have people do, there's breathing techniques, right?
Okay.
There's the box breathing, which think of like a box, like a square. So breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Breathe out through your mouth for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. And repeat. And then again, it just centers you back into the present moment. And, we were talking about how does this bring you career fulfillment and making that into a career reality. What these steps are doing is not going to bring you career fulfillment, but it's going to bring you into your present moment, bring you into your current reality, and from there, taking those actionable steps that we just mentioned, career journaling, the 4-quadrant exercise, paying attention to where you're accomplishing things and thriving, and making that into your future reality.
Okay. I love it. Am I on mute? No. Okay.
Nope.
I was. So I was like, are you talking to yourself again? So we have another comment from Lex, that's who is listed as a LinkedIn user. She doesn't like other people to know who she is. She must have a private profile on LinkedIn. But I feel you. I understand why. What's up, Lex? One of my favorite people. Yes, self-affirmations gets a big yes. I think that it gets that from me as well. Oh my gosh, it is already 2:27.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, and we are respectful of time around here, and I want us to have even more fun and talk about non-work stuff work adjacent stuff for just a minute, because you're not going to get any more of this free game from Alicia. You're going to go to www.mindfulcareerpath.com and check her out because there's a lot more. But at the end, we'll revisit the 4 nuggets that you did give us, and we're very appreciative of it. I know I am, and I'm going to start some of those things. Here's just a little trap recruiter confession. Now, I don't like journaling, and I don't like writing my negative thoughts down, because I come from a place where I'm very where I feel like thoughts are things. And I feel like if I write things down, they become real. And I am just getting myself out of that mindset. I'm aware, I'm being mindful of the fact that that's kind of like toxic positivity on my part. Like I'm like really talking myself out of being authentic with myself. Like I have to be able to say what's working and what's not. And my coach will tell you that as well. My business coach will tell you that she has a hard time with me like completing some of those tough assignments, because like I said, I'm like, if I write it down, then that means it's true. And it's not. So I say all that to say, don't be like me. Do your work and quit being a baby. Like, don't be a baby like me. Actually, babies are a little tougher than me, to be quite honest. Babies are resilient. I'm kind of just, cowardly when it comes to admitting to my own faults or my own areas for development and improvement, as I would tell my clients. All right, so it is 2:30. It's the the kind of cutoff point, but I do want to get into, like I said, some career adjacent fun stuff and
Let's do
ask
it.
you. Yeah, so you're from Boston,
Yes, I am.
and I know this, but I don't think a lot of folks in the audience know this. That you are like not just Boston, like you bleed Boston, like
Yeah.
everything Boston. So if someone were to, and shout out to my cousin Jackson, who is a junior at Boston University.
Yeah,
Shout out,
Jackson.
shout out to you. I know you're doing well in school, so there's that. But anyway, for when we want to go visit her, or when someone else is wanting to hit Boston, like what are your top three like must do? And I'm saying this from like a native place and not like that touristy stuff that is all over Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Snapchat and all the others.
Yeah, that's putting me on the spot.
Okay.
One of the things, I mean, I'm Italian, so I like all Italian foods, and obviously the place to go in Boston is the North End with all their delicious
Mhm.
Italian foods.
Okay.
However, in the North End, which is surrounded by all Italian foods, there's a place called Neptune Oyster, and it has some of the
Oh.
most delicious seafoods, specifically oysters. But if you go at, let's say, I think it opens at like 11 o'clock. If you go at 10:30, you're already in an hour's worth of a line. I mean, that's how. So it's popular, but it looks like, if you didn't know it, it just looks like a hole in the wall. It's small,
Oh, wow.
but the food is amazing. So
Okay.
the North End in general, because it has Italian food, but Neptune Oyster, outside of the Italian food, they have seafood and
Nice.
oysters, which are delicious.
Okay.
I'm a big sports fan, so if you can get to Fenway Park, again, I know that's a little bit, too popular from what you're saying, but
No,
it's something you have to do if you're a Bostonian, and
okay.
people don't think Boston fans are that friendly, but
Well, I'm from the
I'm a
Philadelphia
friendly person.
area, so I
Yeah.
have that'd be like me, pot calling the kettle. So I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that.
and I've been to a oh my god, why am I blanking on the name? I've been to a baseball game, and why can't
The
I think
Phillies?
of who? Yeah, well, yeah, no, it's the Phillies. Yeah, that's that easy. It was the Phillies game, and there was a lot of tension if you wore a Red Sox jersey in the stadium.
Yeah.
And then the third place. What am I thinking? Again, there's too many places not to go visit this section, but the Seaport Boston area is relatively new. A lot of new restaurants, a lot of new spots to check out. So just the Seaport area in general, and you could spend a week there and still not try everything. So that's just, again, I didn't really do what you asked.
No, you did. You absolutely did. Yeah, I love food. And I definitely love seafood. So looking forward to that. So I'm going to stay there for just a second. I'm going to be selfish and ask a question for myself. So how should we be eating our lobster rolls? Like,
I'm straight up butter. I don't do mayonnaise. But I'm sure that's an area of contention for some. I like it with the warm toasted bun and the lobster with the butter on top. So that's me, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. All right. Next question. If you were mindful of the fact that you were not in a very good, or you needed to elevate yourself a little further above the line, because you know how I feel about being below the line. So, what's that song or two that you're going to throw on that's going to really motivate you and put you in the right headspace?
There's really two, and I feel like it will change because I kind of go with what I'm interested in that moment. I don't think I have like a classic song that I always go to, but right now I like the song "Runnin'" by it's from the movie, Adam Sandler's movie Hustlin' or something like that. It's a basketball movie, and the song is "Runnin'," and it goes through in the scene of the movie. It's about this basketball player who's obviously trying to make it to the NBA, but he's working his butt off to get to that point and talk about career fulfillment. That's what he was looking for, and that song. I saw that movie, not too long ago, but that song inspires me. I have it on my Spotify playlist, and it's nice because my kids like it too, so they don't argue with me when I choose to put that song on in the car.
Okay.
Yeah, but then I also like "Happy" by Pharrell Williams.
That's a classic.
Recent, so exactly. So that one that pumps me up when I have to go in person to a conference. I try to lead with that song just to kind of get people out of their seats and ready to go.
All right. I like that. All right. Next question. What's the best career advice you never took or you didn't take?
The best career advice I didn't take for a long time was from my husband. And I think he actually mentioned it to me before we were even married. Because I talked a lot about how I really didn't feel, I kind of felt like an imposter in the accounting industry because I knew that I just didn't love it. And I would show up to these conferences and I felt like other people around me really were into what they were learning. And I said, I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I'm not really into this. But he told me, he's like, you just got to go for it. And it wasn't until we were married and it was, probably the beginning of 2019 that I just wasn't happy in what I was doing anymore. And I would talk to him about it and he would say, you just got to go for it, right? This is the time. Let's, we can do this together. This is the time. At least give yourself the shot. And I said, yeah, but what if I fail? He said, but the problem is, what if you stay where you are and you succeed? And that kind of turned it on its head. And I said, you know what? I don't want to be a successful accountant. What I want to be is someone who's successful at living their career truths.
I love that. And then last but not least, any career advice you would like to give that you haven't already, because this has been a full-on masterclass in career coaching. Shout out to me for being smart enough to ask her to be on the show.
Score one for Kirsten.
Gold star.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lex. Anyway, what's a piece of career advice you would give to someone who is feeling stuck? Like, besides you just go for it. Besides you just gotta go for it.
That's a really good question. I would have to say, I would just have to reiterate what my husband mentioned, right? It's not about what happens if I fail trying to do what I think I want to do. It's what happens if you succeed at the things you don't want to do. Because then you're going to wake up and be, whatever retirement age is, let's just call it 65 right now. But then you're going to turn around, wake up and be 60 and realize, wow, I only have 5 more years left to do whatever it is I want before I'm potentially going to retire and travel and do whatever I want to do. Why not start that process at 20, at 30, at 40? I didn't start it till my late 30s, so there's no given time frame. But whenever the time is right, go for it and go with your full heart into it.
Now, I'm going to leave that question up there because that's something, I think I'm going to make that my first journal exercise. What happens if you succeed at the things you don't want to do? Whew. Again, master class. Alicia, it has been so much fun. I am very proud of myself for staying on schedule with you and right about. So I want to leave folks, like I said, with where to reach you. If you want to shout that out, where can we find you?
Sure. If you go to mindfulcareerpath.com, there's a chance to connect with me with my email address, but there are also social media links that you could reach out through. I'm always available to talk more about your career, just having, no strings attached conversation, seeing where I could deliver value or just see if I could spark your attention to that next phase in your career.
Awesome. And then just again to wrap up the three, I'm going to say this wrong. The three, oh, Kirsten, you're not that old, but you are old.
The self-reflection exercises?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's career journaling, right? Yes. The 4-quadrant exercise, which you can find on my website, and networking, talking with the experts, not necessarily to ask for a job, but just to have conversations to figure out what is out there as far as responsibilities and company cultures, and then opportunities.
Okay. All right, great. I'm going to write this down, and then I'm typing slow.
That's okay.
And then 3, networking. All right. So here we go. Once you get to www.mindfulcareerpath.com, also take these 3 things with you: career journaling, 4-quadrant exercise, and networking. Alicia, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm not really even sure how I came across you, but I know that I just reached out. I was like, hey, you want to be on the show? And you were like, who are you? But okay.
No, I think it was the other way around, Kirsten. I reached out to you and wanted to be on the show because I heard a lot, and I'm appreciative that you brought me on today, and it was just as fun as I anticipated it would be. And I'm hopeful that your audience sensed that, positive vibes and got a lot of value out of it.
I think they did. And like Charlie said, she said, thank you. Lex says, thank you. There'll be some other comments that I probably can't see until I go directly to LinkedIn. But you can also, if you missed the live, I'll share this again. So you can see the taping, get into it, share it with your friends, tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, we're doing body next week, so come back. And tomorrow I'm going to be making an announcement about something fun we're going to be doing during next Wednesday's show, which is with my personal trainer. I'm going to perhaps allow him to talk to other people besides me, because in my mind, he only works with me, but I know that's not true. But Jamal Piper of Piper Personal Fitness will be on, that's a tongue twister, so I have to say it slow, will be my guest next week. And I'm excited about that too. So make sure you join us next Wednesday, 2:00 Eastern, for another episode of Trap Chat Live. Thanks for joining. See you soon.